So that's in our psyche. It's in our brain already. Neural. I'm smart, I promise.
The future of music.
The future of music. The future of music.
The future of music.
The future of music.
The Future of Music podcast.
Hey there, and welcome back to the Future of Music podcast, where we show you how to survive and thrive in the future of music. My name is Ryan Withrow, one of your hosts, the only host today. We are missing John. John could not make it, so I'm so sorry you will not see his beautiful bald head and that beard and hear his soothing voice. Instead, you are subjected to purely my hair that is just awful. I think I just put it back today, and my beard that hasn't been shaved in too long. But in any event, I am excited to be here because something went on over the past week, and we're really excited to chat about some of the things that came from here. So before we do that, I'll remind you to click like, subscribe, and the alerts if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, make sure that you follow the show. We'd love to see you continue on this journey with us as you always have been. Now, as a lot of you know, I'm sure, we often bring to the table new technologies. Now, they don't have to be specific to music. Of course, we really like them to be specific to music, but a lot of this stuff can start to lead into musical abilities. So it's one of the reasons we really want to bring that to you. And we're going to do just that today by revealing some of the top products that were released at CES this year that we think are going to impact music and the future of music. So let's talk about just that. CES. What is CES? It's kind of like a really, really good way to lead in, I suppose. For those of you that don't know, CES is an annual trade show organized by the Consumer Technology Association. It really allows us all to see the new technology that's coming out next, what to prepare for, what to be excited about. And if you've seen any of the videos of this entire seminar or conference, I should say, I'd say 90% of it is focused on, what do you know, headsets, VR, AR, mixed reality. I mean, every single thing that I saw was all headset related because we know it's booming. I mean, we've talked about the Quest 2, the Quest 3, we've talked about Apple Vision Pro, but it's always been those two, the big contenders that are going into the game. Now we go into CES and we start to see some of these other organizations and companies starting to hop on that bandwagon. So the actual feeling, I should say, of CES is that mixed reality is having a moment. And I'd say it's a pretty big moment. So other companies now are looking for ways to expand apps way beyond the confines of your phone's tiny screen. One such example is from a Chinese startup, XREAL, which debuted a new pair of augmented reality glasses called the Air 2 Ultra at CES. And XREAL is already known for making AR glasses, and those are right now simulating the experience of things like watching a large TV. The newest glasses, though, include 3D environment sensors, enabling them to run 3D apps and track motion. So here we go. We're starting to see more people enter the game of headset technology, not just the idea of being able to watch one screen, but we're seeing them start to take on the approach that we see with Meta Quest and Apple Vision Pro, which, by the way, is near release now. And we're seeing all of those people that order or pre-order post that all over social media. So you're going to get consumed by that heavily. But we're starting to talk about new companies with new technology riding the wave, so to speak. And I'm going to put a picture up. If you're not watching on YouTube, the photo I'm putting up right now is the Air 2 themselves. So this is XREAL's initial concept of what they're doing for VR, AR, mixed reality. I'll kind of explain it to you in case you're listening here. It's just like a pair of sunglasses. And within the sunglasses, kind of closer to your face, not on the lens area, but like in between the lens and your face, are another set of lenses. And that's really where the reality part comes in, the mixed reality and VR. They're projecting using those beneath the lens. So I know a lot of us probably remember the days of things like Google Glasses. You could think of the XREAL variation as having two lenses, like you would in the Google Glasses, but then a proper sunglasses lens in the front, so it's not so weird looking. Because let me tell you, that initial glass, that Google Glass, it was weird looking. It looked futuristic. It looked like I was trying to be in the next Terminator potentially, but it was good for its time. But what we have here are much more fashionable, nice additions to the realm of AR, VR. And with this, you start to understand instantly the benefits, because we're talking all this time about Quest and Apple Vision Pro. When we think about that stuff, we think about these clunky big computers that we're wearing directly on the face instead of something that looks normal, like glasses. So now we're starting to talk about kind of making a more of a normal focus with just looking like a typical pair of glasses. Now, XREAL is currently courting developers into creating 3D apps and experiences for its glasses. In the meantime, the demo they did at CES provided a glimpse into what these apps may look like, with things like virtual screens all around the room, music players floating around, YouTube videos all over the room, and even as far as having a contacts page with a 3D avatar, very similar to something like Quest. Now, XREAL isn't the only thing that came out of this entire conversation at CES. This is big. Sony is coming into the race of virtual reality, augmented reality. So, in perhaps another sign that apps as we know them may change, Sony announced a mixed reality headset at CES 2024, designed specifically with content creators in mind. The goal, according to Sony's press release, is to provide developers and creators with tools for building 3D content. Whether the content built using Sony's new headset lives on your phone, future smart glasses, or elsewhere is yet to be determined, but it will look different. So this is a big one, especially for somebody like me that really focuses on digital content on the social media platforms is the smart way to say it. It's an entire new way to record videos. So we've heard about how Quest and Apple Vision Pro are starting to focus on taking these digital images and videos that are actually in the real world, so that you could put these headsets on and like relive and walk into a scene. Now we're starting to talk about companies coming out with a focus on how to record that stuff to make it more effective for more people to experience it on multiple platforms. So, to put this into perspective, think about learning an instrument like guitar and wanting to learn, what does this guitar player specifically do to get this tone, sound, phrasing technique, bend technique, whatever it might be. Right now, what do? We typically go to YouTube. We watch them playing it front on. It doesn't translate as well. Imagine a world where they create the tutorial using these glasses in their real world environment, with them looking down at their guitar. And then we put our headsets on and we see that same video, and we're able to look down and see exactly what they see. So what this tells me is companies like Sony are fully bought in and committed. They're starting to see this wave. They're starting to see the trend, and they realize that there are a few gaps in that sequence. But even further, they're here to really help facilitate the growth of video content using mixed reality and virtual reality. Think about the potential game changer of learning your favorite thing or watching your favorite videos and favorite content creators when you literally feel like you're in their headset, in their world, part of that personal space. It's really incredible. And there are other companies coming in too. But first, before I go on to that, the other things that came out are all still about filming in this world of virtual reality. Sony and a couple other companies that use DSLR cameras are actually now releasing lenses, much like the one I use here, but they are with two lenses simultaneously, intended for recording video in VR, AR, mixed reality. Really cool stuff. But yeah, like I said, other companies are jumping on the bandwagon as well. Companies like XREAL, TCL, Lenovo, they've all been developing and promoting smart glasses for years, but such devices are now in the spotlight thanks to, what do you know, Apple Vision Pro. So they're starting to bring back the focus, bring those back into attention, and we're getting to a point where we don't just have to choose between two. We are starting to get a massive amount of players in the game coming with certain benefits, certain features that others don't have that we can pick and choose rather than it being like a monopoly, so to speak, of what headsets are ideal. And it allows us to have that freedom of exploring. So, with all of these announcements, what the heck does that mean for us in terms of music technology? Well, of course, we've been talking all this time about the benefits of mixed reality with things like Quest and Apple Vision Pro. But now we start to understand all of the small intricacies. So even if you belong to a content group or a product or a company with music education, it could be piano, drums, guitar. When we think about it as it stands now, it's on a flat screen. It's very 2D in that way. And we have to watch videos and try our best to translate what we're seeing on a screen down to what we're actually doing. And as much as that feels like the status quo, as much as that feels like what we're supposed to be doing because we've trained ourselves over the years to do just that, it starts to really sink in when we think about, well, what would happen if I actually saw this in real time with my view ideally? And I was able to look down at a guitar or a piano or a drum set and follow along and not have to translate what I see here onto here. So that alone is massive. But the big thing that I really see in the now is this idea that so many other companies are seeing the shift and seeing the popularity grow in the space of headset technology. And I'm extremely excited about it, mostly because I'm a total nerd for all of the headsets that are out and what they allow us to do and the environments they give us to have fun within. But long term down the line, here's my prediction. Here's what I think is going to happen as we continue to have this. First of all, everyday life. You will absolutely be seeing people wear the sunglasses that have lenses within it, exploring new things. Imagine walking down the street and trying to choose a restaurant for food and being able to see which ones have reservations booked and which ones are open to walk into and go eat and what the ratings are and what they serve as you're just walking down the street. Right. That's everyday life. Same with work. Imagine, being able to plug in the laptop as we talk about with Quest, as we talk about with Apple Vision Pro. But imagine just putting sunglasses on and you're able to work in your own workflow environment with as many screens as you wish, however large you wish them to be. But we talk about music. I think what we're going to start to see is this trend, what's existed, I should say, what has already been existing in our world as musicians playing and learning instruments has been one way of learning. It's been books, which is a physical thing that we're looking at and having to translate to our instrument, or it's been the computer, which is a physical thing that we have to look at and then turn and translate to our instrument. This is going to revolutionize the way we learn things from this point forward, including music and musical instruments. I am extremely jealous of all the people that have this technology available to them at this point. But what we don't realize is when we think about, okay, I'm going to learn something on guitar. Let me pull up a YouTube video. Let me learn it. Great. I absorbed that. Let me play it now. We've been trained to do that. So that's in our psyche. It's in our brain already. Neural. I'm smart, I promise. The neural programming that's been happening there is existed for years. So that's what it's truly become, is programmed in our brain to work that way and to be able to learn in that way. I think we are on the cusp of a shift in learning that will allow us to learn quicker and easier, but we just now have to adopt that methodology of learning. And it's actually going to be something that I think new people coming into the scene younger human beings coming into the scene that are trying to learn something are going to learn much faster and much more efficiently than any of us that didn't have that ever learned. So I think there are two major predictions here that I'm laying out. I should say three. One, this absolutely continues to become a massive part of your everyday life and efficiency in just walking a street and working. Aside from that, I think that the people that learn right now are going to see eventually that this is much easier and efficient and more beneficial to learn, whether it's anything or specifically right now a musical instrument. It's going to start to adopt with that group of people that have already been learning and playing. But I think the biggest shift we're going to see is this will be the new way for new potential musicians to learn their instruments far quicker than we ever did and far easier than we ever did, and to express themselves far better than a lot of us do. So, as always, I made sure to include all of the information and releases during CES in the description here. So, click and go check that out. Again, the image is on YouTube for you to see what it looks like. Man, it's so much less clunky. It really is. I got to tell you. And get ready for next week. Next week, John is back, and also a very special guest is going to be joining us who has single-handedly revolutionized music education and music learning with VR. I'm just going to leave that there and remind you to like, subscribe, and click the alerts and tell you that I appreciate you being here. And I'd love to hear your feedback on all of this CES stuff that has come out. So dig in, leave a comment, and we'll comment back to you. And until we see you next time on the Future of Music podcast, have an incredible week.